hunter versus the hunted, the predator-prey dynamic. Webster defines an antisocial human predator as a person that ruthlessly exploits others. Webster goes on to define human prey as a person who is easily deceived or harmed. So what is an antisocial predator hunting for, and how do we make sure that we are off the menu? When a hyena is stalking and hunting buffalo, they look for the most vulnerable on the outskirts of the herd. A hyena is going to attack an injured baby cow because it's not dangerous. The hyena isn't going to attack a lion that has the capacity and capability to be ferocious and dangerous. So, like a hyena, antisocial human predators also prefer the easier option when it comes to hunting prey. They prefer the weak, the vulnerable, and the naive. Why? Because they are looking for low risk and high reward targets. Predators look for prey. If a human predator is hunting for property, body, or life, they don't want to fight. They want to easily get what they want and move on to the next target. They don't want to get themselves injured or arrested any more than we would. So they are looking for soft and easy targets that aren't dangerous to them. So how do we keep ourselves off the menu? I would argue that our own capacity for ferocity plays a huge factor in the predator selection process. The more capacity we have to be dangerous, the more survivability we have. Not only would we be less likely to be selected as a target, but even if we were, the more ferociously we can defend ourselves, the better chance we have to survive and attack. So remember, predators are less likely to select a dangerous target. So to frame a conversation about ferocity and growing in the capacity to be dangerous, we have the ferocity profile as our model. It goes something like this. We start our lives passive, helpless and dependent on others to be safe. They make decisions for us. And then we grow and we start to learn how to navigate and manipulate in our environment. We learn the social customs, we learn mannerisms and rituals, we navigate our social world and learn how to get our needs met. And then we continue to grow. And after we learn our likes and dislikes, we become more direct at getting our needs met. We become assertive. And we start setting boundaries. Then we grow and we learn that those boundaries need to be reinforced. We need to learn how to protect what we love. So we become willing to be physically assaultive to protect our life and those we love. We might have hit a point in our lives where we have children and realize that we have a responsibility to do what it takes to keep them safe and alive. Then that leads us to the highest level of ferocity. Lethal. I would put my life on the line for the people I love. So whatever capacity we have for ferocity, we'll find that it's easy to drop down to the lower levels and operate at what's appropriate for the situation. If you're having a conversation with someone, you're going to be hanging out down here. Just because you have the capacity to be lethal doesn't mean every room you walk into, you kill everyone in the room. No, we can drop down a level very comfortably, but if we haven't developed the capacity for the higher levels, it would be very challenging, if not impossible, to rise up to the occasion if a dramatic event occurred. For example, if I'm having a discussion with someone, I'll be at this manipulative level and the conversation gets heated. I can rise up and be assertive and say, hey, this conversation is over. Then let's say they get violent. well, I could continue rising up to a level that was appropriate to deal with that situation. Now let's look at that conversation, and let's say I didn't have the capacity to be assertive or assaultive, and the conversation got heated, or the person got abusive. Well, then I would have little or no ability to manage that situation. I couldn't be assertive and say, hey, this conversation is over. And I wouldn't feel like I had the ability to fight them off if they attacked me. So I would submit to whatever abuse that they were going to hand out. Whatever their will was, I would go along with it because I didn't have the capacity to navigate, assert, or protect myself. So in this situation, whoever had the highest capacity for ferocity would dominate the situation. Another example is, let's say two people were fist fighting and one pulled out a gun. Then the other person might be shocked and think, whoa, I didn't intend for this to go lethal. One person had a higher capacity to be dangerous, and so that person dominated that situation. Someone that's assaultive will have the ability to dominate the assertive. The assertive will have the ability to dominate the passive. And we could always come down and operate with people at these lower levels, but if someone wanted to be dominant, it's going to be the person with the higher capacity for ferocity. So even though we can look at this and agree that the more capacity you had to be dangerous, you'll be less likely to be targeted by a predator, but some of you have been so trained to be passive. Some of you learned that even if you ever thought about asserting yourself, you would get beat down. So you associated establishing a boundary with punishment. You were taught to believe violence is bad, and having the capacity for violence makes you a bad person. So you stayed passive and manipulative your whole life. You played the role of the victim, and everyone just pushes you around. The capacity for ferocity is how we survive. These are our survival skills. The idea that being dangerous makes you bad is flawed. Let's say you really believe that a good person would do no harm, and that's what makes you a good person. Let's say that you were walking with a child down a street and a vicious dog attacks the child. If you are passive and do not fight off the dog and save the child, are you still a good person? No, it's the person that has the capacity to be dangerous and uses that capacity to ethically protect and serve others, and that is the good person. If you needed to fight to protect someone you love, but you had always believed that fighting was bad, think of the moral problem that you would have in that attack. You would freeze. Do you think that you would prevail against an attacker that had no moral problem with hurting you or the ones that you loved? This is what predators are looking for. The reality is we have a moral choice to use our capacity for ferocity in an ethical way or an antisocial way. We could be ethical or we could be antisocial. We could be, say, if we were passive, we could be passive aggressive. It's pretty antisocial, and give someone the silent treatment. Or we could be passive by listening and being easygoing. So we have a choice when we're passive to be antisocial or social and ethical. We can manipulate by lying and deceiving, or we can manipulate by being polite, respectful, and we can assert ourselves by being bossy, or we can be clear, respectful, and articulate with our boundaries. We can be assaultive in a criminal way, or we could protect someone that we love. We can murder, or we can be in law enforcement and stop a murderer. So our capacity for violence doesn't make us bad. Bad ethics makes us bad. There is one more layer to this model. We not only want to grow higher in these capacities, but we also want to grow in depth of these capacities. Learn the passive skills of keeping your mouth shut. Learn how to manipulate better by getting better at negotiating. Be better at asserting yourself by articulating your words. Learn how to fight and get more firearms training. Maybe if you trained yourself at the lower levels, that you could manage life's conflicts down here without having them escalate to real problems. So in conclusion, antisocial human predators are looking for easy prey. Grow in the capacity for ferocity will make you a less likely target and make you a better protector of yourself and those you love. And these are our survival skills. Grow in depth of these skills, and so you can learn how to handle difficult situations well and appropriately.